Looking at radical equations now, you look at the definition of it. It says a radical equation is an equation with radicals in it and variables. Whoopee-doo! So it's the same old, same old. Remember, in order to be equation as well, you have to have an equal sign. So something like 2x plus 5 equals to, 7, and just go out and solve it. The only difference now is, we'll throw a radical in it. Oh, okay, well, that's no big whoop. But yeah, there are some little technicalities we got to know about. One of them is, of course, something we talked about previously was restrictions on variables. Now, the restrictions, there's actually a couple things you have to know. What happens here is if the index, okay, is even. So if we have an even index, that means you have the square root of something, or you have a 4th root of something, or 6th root, we have a problem. Under here has to always be positive. These radicands always have to be positive, and that's the restriction. So take a look what we mean right over here, okay? Look, you've got 2x, and it says just state the restriction. Okay, no problem. 2x has to be positive, has to be greater than 0. Divide by 2, x has to be greater than 0. That's the restriction. Because think about it. If x was something less than 0, if x was, let's say, -1, look what would happen. You'd have the square root of 2 times -1, which gives you the square root of -2, which you can't do. You can't take a square root of a negative. It doesn't work. Let's look at this question now. A little bit more complicated, but not really, because this says m minus 4 has to be greater than and equal to 0. Add 4 to both sides, add 4, and again, this just makes sense. M has to be greater or equal to positive 4, because again, if m is not greater than 4, if let's say m is 3, put a 3 in here. 3 minus 4 gives you a square root of a -1. Guess what? Can't do it. Now, look at this last one, because I don't know if you remember some of the rules that go along with these things called inequalities. Check this out. This is 6 minus a has to be greater than and equal to 0. In other words, has to be a positive number, right? Okay, subtract 6, that cancels this guy out. Giving you minus a has to be greater than or equal to -6. Well, here's the problem. That's a minus. Change it to a positive by multiplying both sides by -1. Okay, so that becomes a. That becomes, multiplied by -1, right? -1. That becomes 6. But wait, do you remember what happens to this guy? What happens to this guy is it becomes flipped. Soon as you multiply or divide by a negative, okay? By a negative, this has to become a flipped inequality. That guy's got to be flipped, okay? So flip the inequality. Okay, now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably saying, well, why is that? Why does that happen? Well, let me show you something which is really cool. This is a little off topic, but it'll help you understand why we do this. If you pick a number, okay, let's pick 2. Find me something that is less than or equal to 2. Well, okay, 1. Ooh, that was tough. Now, check this out. If we add, let's say, 4 to this, well, what we do to the left side, we do to the right side. Check this out. This becomes 6, 5, right? Okay, check it out. Does the inequality still hold? Well, of course, 6 is bigger than 5. Absolutely. Well, what if we multiply this by, let's say, 3? Well, what you do on the left, you have to do to the right. Check this out. 6 times 3 is 18. 5 times 3 is 15. Does the inequality still hold? Yeah, it still holds. But what if you divide this now by, let's say, -3? Okay, look what happens to this. You divide that by -3, that becomes -6, right? 18 divided by -3 is -6. 15 divided by -3 is -5. Well, remember what we said about the inequality. When you divide by a negative, you flip. Here's the reason why. This is no longer bigger than negative 5. Do you see it? It's actually less than, right? So negative 6 is smaller than negative 5. Isn't that cool? Now you've got some real cool insight as to why we have to flip the inequality all the time. So that'll help us in building restrictions for solving radical equations.